Hub Power 10 under 10, na hii ni car story. Happy New Year. Welcome to Power 10 under 10 car story 2024. Now, I've been really dodging this episode. I don't know why. I have been dodging it. I've tried to approach it from different dimensions, but I think the Lord wanted me to approach it from this angle. Well, listen to this. We've always talked about seasons and timing. We've always talked about expectations, reality. But today, I want to talk about the Lord's time. Now, when I was growing up, I was very passionate about cars. Actually, let me say, today's episode, we've not done it on a car because most of the episodes we've done on cars, people say you are reviewing the car. But we all know we are doing car stories. So for today's episode, I decided to do it indoors. So I really loved cars, and I started driving them at quite an early age. I used to drive when someone comes home. Our compound is such in a funny way that you drive in, it's a slope, you drive in and turn left immediately. So most people who used to drive in had issues driving out. So I used to tell them, let me drive it outside for you. But you know, people always are people. Wanasema, where did you learn how to drive? I also used to, ask my dad, let me take my mom to church. I will bring back the car and walk on foot just because I loved cars. And I used to drive them here and there. Most of the times are when I was told, hapana, wewe hata hujui kuendesha gari. And just a few weeks ago, I think 2 weekends, someone called us and asked us, why are you not doing a review of my car? And I was like, okay. So we've gotten to a point where people are even offering their cars for us to do reviews. And I was thankful. So on this episode, I want us to talk about the Lord's timing. Most of us tend to say, the Lord has taken too much time. Where am I coming from this angle to this angle? I suffer this much. When I expect things will be better, I find myself going to worse scenarios or situations. Or rather, you expect the Lord now to bless you because you've had so many issues. But unfortunately, you find yourself getting into more worse situations. Now, thinking of that got me thinking that we depend on ourselves, or we as humans tend to think of ourselves that we can do this or we can accomplish this without, maybe the Lord, or without this and that. But in the eventuality of it all, the Lord's timing is always the best. Come to think of it in this dimension, you wake up a certain morning and you get late for work. And now, when you get late for work, you've already been given a few warnings that you should not get late. You are out, you are late, you start driving, and because you think, huku kwa vichaka, there are no officers or what, you decide to speed up where you can to get up for where you'll not be speeding. Just when you take a turn, you've driven off at a very high speed, you approach a Kenya pickup truck, and they tell you now you've been driving way past the speed limit. You are taken in. Of course, you get fired, you get fined in a court of law, and you start asking yourself, oh God, why am I going through all this? But in the midst of all that, are you talking to the Lord? Are you telling him, you remember, let your will be done? Because the Bible tells us about the will of the Lord. Are you telling him, let your will be done? Or you're still relying on yourself? Well, another situation. You wake up and you're having issues with your girlfriend or your wife, and she decides to leave you and go back home. But when she goes back home, you start telling the Lord, now I want you to give me another woman, or you give me another girlfriend. But the Lord's will is you have to go back for that woman and sort things. But when you now start depending on yourself, the Lord tells you, sasa jisukume. And you find yourself, you're coming from this relationship to another one, from this scenario to another one. And the Lord's timing is always the best, because when now you're feeling like, I'm almost giving up now, the Lord now tells you, just come back. Let me show you where my line was. So this episode was we were approaching it from a very different dimension, but I think the Lord wanted us to talk about the seasons and timing. When the Lord's time comes, it is always the perfect time. And when you think you're going through challenges, struggling situations, remember that they are not permanent. All that is temporary. For you to write your history, maybe 5 years, 10 years down the line, you'll be telling people, at this point in time, you had given up, I'd gone through this and that in life, you know? Well, in 2024, I want us to believe that whatever we will be confessing is what we will be possessing. So from now henceforth, I confess that car story will go to the world. I believe we will shoot. I believe the parameters that the Lord had kept are almost there. Well, I hope this year we get to deliver you great content. I hope we get to meet your expectations. And I hope the Lord takes the lead. Well, that's it for Power 10 under 10. Hiyo imekuwa car story.